Welcome to Sister Wives Rewatch. Yes, we're still doing it. We're getting a fair number of people who ask us, hey, are you still going to do your rewatch? And the answer is yes, we are. We're doing it right now, in fact. So we are on, it's kind of nice that we're taking a little bit lighter load of work for just a couple weeks, and then we'll get back into the heavy. We have Seeking Sister Wife coming up. We're still doing, obviously, the rewatch. We're still doing other stuff. But now we've gotten 2 episodes in a row that were the 20-minute short episodes. So this has been kind of a blessing. So it's a quick episode. It is it's season 6, episode 7, Polygamous Questions Answered. And it's just a bunch of questions. And none of them, there's some good stuff kind of hidden in there. But mostly
like when Cody asked Robin to pole dance for him?
That was a flashback clip, right?
Unfortunately.
So there's a few things, but in general, it's going to be a short recap. So just hang in there. So they've gathered up the kids. What I did think was interesting is they're filming at Mary's, and they filmed Cody going over to Robin's house and saying, "Come on, kids, I'm going to take you over there." And I thought, you don't see that with Janelle, you don't see that with Christine, but I did think it was funny that literally it's not like this. Oh my gosh, what a huge revelation. But it's just interesting now that we're checking. We're like, gosh, Robin really she really needed Cody for everything. Like, she couldn't get her kids over in the cul-de-sac to Mary's house on her own. Cody has to always go get her kids, just kind of that sort of thing. So they asked, all of the kids are there, and they ask, some questions. Who?
What, when, where, why?
Who's the strictest mom? And a lot of Christine's kids say that they're the strictest mom. I think Peyton says that Mary is. Hunter says it really depends on what the thing is. And then they say, well, who's the easiest mom? And they're like, oh, Janelle for sure. Janelle, which does strike me. She strikes me a little bit maybe the way I am, which is like, we're focusing on the important stuff and we're letting the dumb stuff go. And then they ask Aspen, because I'm guessing they filmed these out of order, because they're like, well, Aspen, you haven't spoken at all. And I thought, it's only like 2 minutes into the episode. And she's like, well, I was a perfect child, so no one's strict with me. Which kind of just made me like, oh. And then they ask all the kids, do you want more kids? And if so, from who? And I thought, what a bizarre question. And it just really felt like it was baiting to say, yes, we want Robin to have more kids or something. So Robin's kids kind of say, I want Mary and Robin to have more kids. I want Mary to have like 4 or 5 more kids. And then Peyton's like, nah, I think we're good. We have 17. I think by this point and Hunter agrees. And I think at this point, and it's interesting that Robin's kids certainly think there's space for more kids. But the other kids seem to think like, now we don't really see Dad very much. They ask who makes the best food, and everybody says to Christine, and they ask who makes the worst food, which was kind of like, maybe you should have let that one. And Isabel says, also my mom. And Christine's very sweet and hugs her and says, I know, honey, I love you too, and stuff like that. And they talk about the TV remote, and Cody's like, well, my rule is rock, paper, scissors. And then they talk about modest clothing, and everybody, the adults, McKelty talks about how she should be able to wear more, and Cody's like, that's so gross, your body is shameful, or something like that.
Basically, I'm sure that didn't give her...
That wasn't his exact words, and I know many of us have. I do not have a teenager. Right now, our biggest struggle with our son is, much like us, if you've ever watched us, we have a sort of a uniform, which is jeans and a t-shirt, and we just cycle through. Our son is exactly the same, except his t-shirt collection is 3 shirts that he's willing to wear, maybe 4. It kind of depends on the day. And then when he grows out of a shirt, it's a real struggle to incorporate a new shirt into it.
Yep.
And so we have our own clothing struggles, but a little different than most of these. So I'm not saying that kids should be able to wear anything they wear all the time, but I do like bristle a little at the language, because Robin's like, these kids just don't understand when they dress a certain way, what it does to boys. And I thought, well, maybe that could be boys' problems. And secondly, we've seen the outfits that were so offensive, and they're really not,
they're much more clothed than Robin was on the honeymoon.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say it covers up just as much as what we've seen when Robin, and I don't think Robin's outfit on the honeymoon was inappropriate when she was wearing a
But
swimsuit.
if you judge her according to her judgments, she's a skank.
I think part of it is also McKelty might have a little bit more curves. But, you know, it's like somebody said, am I dressed inappropriately or do I just have breasts? It's like one of those, like, you know. Anyway, so I don't know. So anyway, they get into that. They're about to move to Vegas, and a lot of the kids are like, you know what, it was really super difficult, but I'm really happy here now. I wonder if part of that wasn't being in a bigger city with more options, if part of that... there's part of me, though, that wonders that maybe it's almost coincidental because the family now has more money because they have the TV money, and that's giving them more opportunities to do stuff. And from what I remember, they were homeschooled until right before the show started.
Something like
and
that.
if maybe... public school hasn't been a little bit better for them. We both went to private school. I went to private...
I highly don't recommend it.
Well, anyway, I was perfectly happy. I had a great time until I got to junior high, and then I went to a junior high that was farther away from my house. And so all of the kids knew each other. They had all gone to elementary school together, except for like 3 of us who came from elementary school, and 2 of them were best friends, and then me. And I just never felt like I really fit in, and all my friends, a lot of my friends from church went to the local junior high. My neighbors went, all this kind of stuff, and I about halfway through the year just said I really wanted to go there. My parents switched me. And yeah, I did enjoy that. It was certainly, my dad was certainly happier because he could drop me off on his way to work instead of having to drive a half an hour.
2 miles. Or was it a little longer?
No, it was like you literally pulled out of our drive, made a right, drove, and then he'd stop and let me out. And so it was like perfect for him. I actually, for a short period of time, I used to ride my bike with my neighbor who I went to school with. We had gone to school all through elementary school together, and then she went to the local junior high, and I eventually joined her. She was the same friend who told me that we could be church friends and out of school friends, but I was embarrassing at school. So
Jeez.
this is, if people are like...
Quality people, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I heard that from several people. Same went with my church best friend who said that we could also, because both of them were cooler than me. I struggled a lot. I can't say that I stopped struggling. I'm still not... I have you. I have a couple of online friends.
And I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
I know, I don't need anyone else other than you, but I'm not so great with the friends. I'm embarrassing, apparently, in public.
I've never seen
or
that.
school or something. I'm not embarrassed in the way I was. I've somehow figured some things out since 12, but
No kidding.
I don't remember where I was going with. I rode my bike until one day I got there and I passed out, and I went stiff as a board and hit. I still have a small bump. You can't really see it, and it's almost gone. But for years and years and years, I had this visible bump from where, because that's what broke my fall, was this.
Oh.
And maybe that's why I used to test much higher as the IQ, and now it's lower from that head injury. But anyway, after that, Dad drove me because I wasn't handling the bicycle so well. So they ask, what's the most annoying thing about the parents? Hunter says when they act like kids in public. Several of the kids are like, well, Leon, who's Mary's child, said Dad dresses feminine.
Yes, they said that.
They said that, and and then May
it
goes,
was
"What
it
do you
the same
mean?"
kid or
well,
another
then Christine says, "What do you mean feminine?" And they're like, "The tight pants." And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Dad does
pink
wear
shirts.
really tight pants." And Janelle's like, "We like that tight pants." I'm like, "Okay, easy, Tiger, over there." And then something about his buns of steel, and then someone else, one of the other kids, it was going really fast at this point, so we can tell who was talking. Someone else was like, "Yeah, we don't need to see your buns of steel." And I'm like, Cody really thinks, like, I'm not saying he should have body dysmorphia or that he should hate his body. Like, that's great, he likes his body. But it's just odd that there's this ongoing thing that it's not just that he likes his body, it's that he seems to have this sense of his body that everybody else is really drawn to it. Like, my amazing buns of steel, my six-pack abs, my amazing arms, that's all that Janelle's using me for. And I'm like, I'm happy you like your body, but to think that you have such a great body that women are using you for it, and that they've been married to you for 30 years and had six, like, that's a level of delusion that's not about, like, I'm not trying to body shame you. Nothing wrong with his body. I actually been really annoyed this week because a ton of people all they do with the TLC shows is make fun of people's bodies and think that because they're short, the men are short, they don't deserve love or something. And it's like...
Well, that seems healthy.
Yeah, well, it's just like, okay, I am not anywhere near on that track. I don't think there's anything wrong with Cody's body, but to then turn around and say that it's so amazing when he clearly has a beer belly and he's like, I have six-pack abs, and that's why Janelle is using me, and she's a bad person. I'm like, are the six-pack abs in the room with us now? Like, what is going on? Okay, so, they ask, they at some point they kick the wives out. I think it was right after, not the wives out, the kids out. They're like, okay, time for some serious adult questions, none of which are serious. And they say, what would Cody be like as a bachelor? And Christine's like, oh, well, his place would be very, very neat. And Robin, like, rolls her eyes, and Christine's like, he makes a mess at you. Wait, like, he's not cleaning your house, he makes a mess. She seems genuinely confused.
He doesn't clean up as much because he actually helps with the kids at Robin's house.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But Robin's like, well, I'm not going to say anything. And part of me wondered if, when he said that, if she meant he was always on her to be clean. Like, if he wasn't always like, Christine, this is a mess, this is a mess, this is a mess. And so that's what she was thinking. Whereas when he's at Robin's house, he's not bugging her about anything. And the kids are sort of running wild and all of that. Remember, at this point, Robin already has a nanny. And by that, I mean her sister is living with her. And a lot of people keep correcting me and say, no, it was her niece. At this point in the show, it was her sister. It was not, it is mentioned like one time. There was one time earlier this season or late last season where they said, oh, by the way, Robin's sister lives with her to help out with the kids. And if we move into the cul-de-sac, she'll continue helping. And if you look, you'll see her in the background. But they don't really explicitly mention it, I think, because if they were more explicit, people would have questioned, why does Robin have live-in help? I think that's what it would imply. So they just sort of slid it in like one sentence.
What she said.
Stop it. And then Janelle says, well, he would definitely be, she called him like cosmopolitan. But what she meant was he'd have a nice house, he'd have a nice car, he'd have nice clothing. And Cody's like, more than one. And I don't know if he means more than one nice car or more than one nice house. Cody prefers a copy of an Anna to her. I don't know what I was going to say.
I don't read that.
And they were joking about how if Cody was single, the women would be all over him, which is like, I guess this is a shared family delusion, that Cody is so attractive. Now, I think the show made that worse because they were saying, yeah, women are always come up to him and asking to be the fifth wife. I think that they were not serious and they were joking, but I think that Cody and the wives took that all seriously because in their culture, that's exactly how a real wife would ask to join the family. But I don't think that most of the women who said that, I think they were making a funny little joke, just to be clear. And I do think that him just being on TV, I think there's a certain amount of people who are just mesmerized by that and are just a little like, wow, I can't believe someone on TV that, you know what I mean? Like when people say like, oh, my next door neighbor's son was, you know, is on this show, and they say it like a real badge of pride. And I get it. It's like weird when you stumble across that. But I don't really think that thousands of women were begging to join his family. But I do think that they thought he was, and they believed him. So there's that. But Christine's joke was they would all be like all over Cody, and he'd be like, no, you must let me dance. I have to dance. And then they showed some videos of him dancing.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, yes.
Flailing about.
Then they talk about controlling jealousy, and Christine talks a lot about, you know, how the more secure she is in herself, the better she feels, and the less jealousy there is. And then Janelle talks about it, you know, sometimes I struggle with it more or less, but the more secure I am. And then Cody says, is there anything I could do to make it better? I thought he was staring right at Robin when he said that. But then Christine replied, so maybe he was directing that to Christine. And then Christine says, well, when you get mad about it, it does make it worse. If I'm expressing that I have... And then Mary kind of jumped in and is like, yeah, we don't need you to say...
No kidding.
you know, that you just need to kind of like understand that we're not, it's not an accusation. It's just, I just need to hear that you understand me. Robin says not a single word the whole time, because I'm guessing she feels like, well, I don't have to be jealous. I'm winning. That's what I think.
Right.
And then they ask about the hair. This was actually interesting to me because Christine is like, well, it's his choice, it's his decision, it's his hair. And then Robin's like, he could shave it. I think he'd look great with a shaved head. And everyone else is like, no, my gosh.
Robin just wanted to be different.
I do think that, but it's also interesting to me because if she really felt that way,
he would have cut it.
Yeah. I mean, he would have cut it then or now. And they showed the image where they showed him with a shaved head. I don't know if that's a real picture because the way they showed it implied that it was like photoshopped. Because they showed him with hair and then they just went like this and the hair was gone and he was buzzed. I think he looks fine. I think he looks fine. Mm-hmm. Fine, by the way, Cody. You don't need to take that and now assume that I'm after you for your amazing shaved head. Like, we got to speak clearly because anytime anyone says anything that's even slightly whatever, he really takes it to the whatever extreme. So they ask about kids events. What do you do if there's multiple kids events? And Cody comes back to this rock, paper, scissors. Like, I thought that would work for everything, but apparently not. And eventually they settle on the moms go, and then Cody tries to split his time. And then they talk about everybody's most embarrassing time on the show. Robin says having Solomon, giving birth to Solomon with the camera in the room. And I thought, well, you could have, I don't know that you had to be there the whole time. Was that like a requirement that they had to be there the whole time and they couldn't have just, I don't know.
For me, Robin's most embarrassing thing would have been when she called all the other wives fat and old.
Well, that doesn't come for a while. Well, I mean, Robin's most embarrassing thing should have been Christine's most embarrassing thing. So anyway, Robin says it's giving birth to Solomon, and Christine takes the moment to be a terrible sister wife and tell her how proud and impressed she was of how Robin handled that, and Cody could talk about how ladylike she is. So part of me almost feels like
she's always been an awful wife and sister wife, right?
Well, so I almost wonder, was it really Robin's most embarrassing time, or was it just a chance for her to get all the accolades about how brave she was? Christine says that there's a ton of stuff she wished she had it done, and that it's so difficult because she goes through it and she's so embarrassed, and then she gets over it, and then they show the episode and she gets so embarrassed, and then they show the replay and
it
she
must
gets
be
so
terrible to get all that in rerun money, huh?
I know, right?
I
don't know if they get rerun money. I think they might just get, they get paid enough though in the beginning. But Cody really pushes her, and she finally admits that when they had the wedding dress discussion and she ran off, that was her most embarrassing time, that she really wished she hadn't done that. Now, what I'd be curious about
is if she's still embarrassed by that perfectly normal reaction.
I mean, it's one of the I feel like it's really one of the things that captured people's attention and got them a second season, because it was so authentic and it didn't mean to be. And it made people go, I know this is wrong. And we stuck around. We still mention, we being the fans, mention that incident. I mean, I see people mention it almost daily on comments or Reddit threads or YouTube or TikTok, because it was such a like, that moment is real. That I believe. And I understand that the rest of the time you're trying to put your best foot forward, but that was a real moment. And I'd be curious if I had a chance to ask Christine anything now. I would say, you know, in season 6, you said that you were really embarrassed and you regretted doing that. Now, do you feel differently? Is that a moment that you're proud of because you stood up for yourself and you told the truth, or do you still regret it? My guess is that she would say, I'm still embarrassed by it, but, you know, it was 100% authentic. I mean, she might still be embarrassed because, I mean, that's probably something I would still be embarrassed by, but I wonder if now she's like, you know, but I'm also proud because I said the truth. Or something like that. That's what I wonder. Janelle says that getting on the scale and sharing her weight publicly and talking about all that. And I have to admit that it was super brave of her. And I don't know that... I think this is the reason why people like Janelle and Christine, is because... I'm going to talk about Mary in a second, but Janelle and Christine is because they've both done things that are truly vulnerable that they wish that they didn't have to. Or didn't maybe regret doing. So we talk about that. Mary says that when she yelled at Big Bear, that's when she came around the kids and she said, I see the bullying, you need to stop it and all that. She says she didn't know the cameras were there. And she said it and she lost her temper and then the cameras run around. And I'm going to be 100% with Mary on this, which is I think if she sees something that is inappropriate and she calls it out, I mean, she didn't call the kids like, you're a waste of space, you shouldn't be on this earth or anything abusive like that. She didn't like backhand him across the face. So I kind of feel like, you know, I'm with Mary on that in that it's embarrassing. I mean, I've definitely had people, you know, I use my like real mom voice and then someone overhears and I just go like, oh, I wish I had used more of a like, yes, honey, I recognize, instead of like, just not use that tone, you know, a little bit more like that. And so, you know, if that's, and I think the fact that it was, that she didn't know the cameras were there is sort of a point in her favor because it's kind of like, that's her real reaction, not her TV reaction. And I'm still go, you know, and then Cody's most embarrassing moment, which I'm like, there should be a lot of stuff you're embarrassed about, and this is it, which is when him and Mary had the conversation at dinner, and she said, well, what if I was with another man? And he said, the vulgarity of the thought that you would be with another man. And he described it as he was looking toward a door to try to run away. And I kind of feel like, wait, you're in a plural marriage and you can't have a meaningful conversation with one of your wives about the fact that you're asking things of her that you yourself couldn't handle. I kind of feel like then you're not mature enough to even be in a plural marriage. And you're going to now bring that up again is the most embarrassing moment caught on camera. I mean,
brilliant.
I just kind of feel like that answer tells me so much about you, and it's all bad stuff. That's your most embarrassing moment, is that you had, because I kind of feel like, I mean, I kind of feel, if that's his worst moment, I feel like then you and I have more difficult conversations every day about our feelings and how we're feeling and this and that than this guy does ever. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. And now that we have a larger picture of his relationship with Mary, where he was really taking her and being like, here's a shelf I want you to sit on. I don't totally buy that he didn't have feelings for her at this point, just so much as he had figured out a way to box out his responsibility to her as a person.
He's
but still
an expert at that.
You know what I mean? So they asked Janelle a question about inspiration for losing weight. If, you know, Janelle's very much like, thank you so much. That means so much. It's been so hard, that kind of thing. And then they ask about why do they call them sister wives? And the answer was because that's what we've always done. Because we have a sister-like relationship. And I was like, okay, that's not actually... It was just kind of funny because it was like the answer was, why do we call them sister wives? Well, we're not actually sisters. And I'm like, okay, thank you for the people who just tuned in 3 seconds ago.
Thanks for clarifying that.
And we're not married to each, well, I guess, you know, but it's just a historic term we use. And it's like, well, I know so much more than I used to. Thank you for that in-depth conversation. So there you go. There's the episode. Maybe we actually did get some good stuff to talk out of it. We'll be back next week with another episode. Bye!